welcome. One Micronesia podcast. We're here with the one, the only Morgan Aiken the fourth.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much for having me. Sorry I had to postpone it so many times and didn't get back to you sometimes, but finally made it home, so happy about it.
Well, I'm glad and happy you're home, and you're having a great time.
As you saw,
we had a great time at the pool party. I mean, that's all. That's what it's about, right? You do your thing in Japan. You put your heart out, and then at breaks, take it and fly home and just having a great time. So that's what it's all about. So we kick off the podcast, and we like to get to know our guests, like so people out there who might not know you. So this. Hopefully towards the end of the podcast they get an idea of who Morgan Aiken the fourth is and what he's been doing, the awesome things. So let's start there. So how did it all start for you? Like, was basketball the sport that you wanted to do, or maybe you wanted to be a musician? Like, what was it like at the beginning?
It's funny you say musician, because the first hobby-ish that I picked up, didn't even pick up. My mom put me in piano.
Oh, nice. Oh, wow.
And then I got my right hand down to play some keys, and I was like, I can't do this. I don't like it. So then that's when I kind of started playing baseball, soccer, football. Nice. Basketball was one of them. And then I was I think around 6, 7 years old. But after once I started playing basketball, I was like, okay, yeah, I think this is the one. To where I started watching a lot more basketball, and at the age of 8, I was like, I'm gonna drop piano and every other sport just to try to focus on basketball.
What was it about basketball that got you okay, this is baseball, there's a lot of swinging, a lot of running around, but basketball, what was it that got you okay, I like this? It's
with baseball, I got hit by the baseball. And I was no.
That's why I never got into baseball. I tried playing, and every time they would throw me on the bat, to bat, I'm just yeah, probably not my sport. But I mean,
it was my sport until you're hitting off the tee at 6, and then the next year they started pitching, and I got hit, and I was like, ooh, I don't like this. And then the first year I was supposed to join football, they ended up shutting down the league because they didn't have enough players. So then it was kind of like soccer and basketball. Soccer was fun, but I was like, it's outdoors, it's hot. And then basketball, it was just just easy, aircon gym. You just shoot around by yourself too.
It is hot on Guam, so we'll take air cons anywhere we can.
Yeah, so then just from there, 8 years old, I just kind of chose to focus on basketball, to where I started watching basketball. But at that age, it was just still for fun. It wasn't I was trying to take this to the next level, or it was just something me and my friends did on weekends after school, just to have fun. And
that's nice.
That's kind of how it started.
Well, so let's go back and talk about your high school career and how it all started.
High school career, well, I got to St. Paul my sophomore year, and then I think that's when I started to, I wouldn't necessarily say peak, but actually see the improvements of what trainers would tell me, kind of what my parents would tell me. Didn't really listen that much because I'm thinking I know everything, right? I should have listened earlier,
right?
But that's when I think I fell in love with the process of training, not so much the outcome, but being in the gym, knowing okay, I'm the first one in the gym, not always the last one, but let me try to be the last one if my dad's not coming to pick me up yet, and stuff like that, to where I kind of took my training seriously, to where not so, it wasn't I was trying to win, because I won the championship my junior year.
Wow.
And that wasn't necessarily the goal, but it was more so day by day, what could I do to be better, and as a player, and to help the team out. And I think that's when I started noticing a significant level of growth from my basketball.
Wow. Yeah. So talk. I mean, that's talk about St. Paul. I mean, one of the top schools here on Guam with a amazing basketball program, and we've seen it through the years. It's always either St. Paul FD at the end of the season, and bad not to say anything. I'm just saying that I think they're putting so much effort into the programs, and which are really helping these kids. And one of these kids are your little brother. Talk about that. How are you now? You're just looking at him improving, just taking steps up and up. And how does that make you feel as an older brother?
It feels great now. I don't think I had the best training methods for him initially, in middle school too. He could come and tell you I was, way too hard on him. Things I would say, I
mean, you're his older brother, so you always
I just remember one significant time. It was just we were at the sports complex. He's Rail Aiken because because I played at St. Paul. So I told him after the game, because he started, got 30 minutes, scored maybe 4 points. So I took him to the side behind the restroom, and I was like, what are you doing? Like, if you don't want to play, you don't have to play. Like, I train you and stuff like that, but, you know, like, I'm not here to force you to play. So if you don't want to play, or you're not, like, if you don't have the passion to work hard, especially in the games, like, you might get some playing time, you know, because you've been in the system for so long, but, like, you actually got to actually love the game, because there's going to be people that start surpassing you, like I was saying, like, when I started peaking in high school. So, like, middle school is when you have to kind of realize, like, you know, like, you either love it or you don't. And you're going to either, like, do it to improve, or, you know, do it to have fun. But once you start doing it to have fun, it's cool, but, like, you're going to significantly see, like, people who are actually grinding to, you know, like, get to that next level. And, like, freshman, sophomore year for him, I think it was kind of tough, especially because that's when I first signed in Japan.
Oh, okay.
So, like, I wasn't here to kind of, like, try to guide him, help him, and stuff like that. That's why I took 2 years off to come back to help him junior, senior. And then that's when he hit, like, a peak where he grew taller than me, 6'2". And then, you know, like, junior, he was kind of like that 6'2" lanky kid, doesn't have the weight, not really in his body. But then senior year, he was able to kind of like maximize his senior year potential, you know. And then from there, he just kind of like took off. And yeah.
And that's crazy how, like, you came back and you spent most of your time, you know, coaching brother, and we've seen how he's progressed, right? He's out in, was it Singapore? Singapore with 3-3, you know, tournament. I mean, representing Guam, that's huge. You know, you talk about, you know, the different coaching techniques that you went through. But not only that, so now that we see your brother, you know, out there doing great, but you're not only doing that, you're also giving back to the community. You talk about the clinics that you got out here. So let's talk about a little bit about more of that. How's that going? You know, you're back, you're enjoying time with family, but at the same time you're giving back.
I mean, like, just like a backstory though, like, I didn't have the luxury of, you know, taking a trip to Cali to go to the best trainers and stuff like that. And, like, I never really had like a consistent mentor when I was growing up. So, you know, like, when I did sign in Japan, and, like, times I do come back, like, it was always a plan to, like, you know, give the kids something I didn't have, which is, you know, guidance, fundamentals. Just came from, like, the 10 under training, like, shoot from the cone. Everybody wants to shoot like the Steph Curry 3, so I'm like, come on guys, like, you know, you'll get there, but, like, you know, like, let's slowly progress to that, just because I didn't have that. And it's crazy is, like, so, like, people that I faced in high school, like, I was never able to shoot. I mean, my brother would tell you. And then so I had to ask him, because he was just gifted to shoot. He didn't really, well, he works for it now, but, like, elementary, middle school, like, he was just like a gifted shooter, was always able to shoot. So, you know, like, I was humble enough to ask, like, can you kind of help me? Because I didn't do the fundamentals when I was younger, you know. But, like, just stuff like that, to where, like, I want to give that, you know, opportunity for the kids coming up. So, like, you know, when they reach a certain age, like, they'll realize, like, you know, like, I'm glad I worked on the little things and not be like me, to where I was watching, like, hoop mixtape DVDs to
those
where,
and
like,
one mixtapes,
just watching way too much of that and not working on what I was supposed to work on. So
those videos got kids, you know, in this whole, you know, Pacific area, just like doing all these and one, and when you ask somebody the most fundamental question, they're like, wait, what is that? Like dribbling, like, you know, all these, you know, passing stuff. So that's awesome to know that, you know, instead of giving this new generation of young basketball players a and one mixtape, you're actually bringing them back to the fundamentals and teaching them the basics. I think that's amazing, bro. We're gonna take a break, but when we come back, we're gonna talk about how it all started, how the feeling of signing and moving to Japan and playing in the big leagues. That's awesome. We'll talk about that coming up in just a little bit. You're watching the One Micronesia podcast. I'll be right back. Half a day, Morgan, we're back. One Micronesia podcast. We're still here with Morgan Aiken the fourth, professional basketball player. So, bro, let's talk about it, man. We talked about kind of how it all started for you, you know, how life's going, what you're doing, what you're giving back to here on Guam. So let's talk about that. I want to start it from the beginning of the signing. You know, in 2015, right? You said 2015. You got the call. What was that feeling like?
Another backstory, like, it was more of a relief because I was in my second year of college. So I played at Eastern University in Philly. Wow. And then, like, I took a year off to save funds to, you know, try to make a shot D1. So I went to UTEP, University of Texas, El Paso. So I was there for a year, no connections, you know, I'm just trying to walk on. So after, like, 8 months, I get, like, a call from the coach. Because, like, we won, like, the, you know, like, the rec leagues and stuff like that. And so, like, the coach calls me into, like, you know, like, the team facility because they have, like, a separate gym. Like, I go there, we're talking, they're like, oh, you know, like, we have a walk-on possibility. So I'm like, oh, shoot, I'm about to play, you know, D1. You know, this is the initial dream before, you know, going pro. So then, I call my mom, like, Mom, have a chance and stuff like that. To where, and then when we start getting into the process of it, they're like, okay, so can you send us your transcripts? And I'm like, transcripts?
Oh, okay.
And then so once the transcripts come through, I'm not eligible because some of the credits didn't transfer. So that's like I'm heartbroken. Like this was my dream. I'm not thinking about pro. Hindsight, I'm thinking like this is the step. This is what I want to do. So then when that didn't happen, I call my mom. She is heartbroken. I'm heartbroken. I'm thinking it's the end of the world and everything. And then it was just that next week that I had because I post all my highlights on YouTube with my phone number and email address. Hoping that And then that's when I got a message, an email from an agent in Japan asking do you have a Japanese passport? What's your citizenship situation? And then that kind of tied along to me being able to sign in Japan. So it was I was happy, but at the same time I was just just in shock from going from losing my initial dream to wait, so I actually can skip this and go to my primary dream. That wasn't really a dream because I felt like it was too far-fetched, and people who don't know overseas basketball, you just think NBA or bust. So then the fact that I was oh, there's a pro league in Japan where they pay for me to just play basketball, I might take that shot. And my parents were kind of opposed to it. They're like, no, you're finishing school and stuff like that. I was like, I could kind of finish school, whenever, or online classes. That's what I promised my mom. Didn't really do it. But and then I kind of took that opportunity, leap of faith to go to Japan and sign that contract. And it was big for me. I was happy.
That's nice. Let's talk about that. You mentioned it right at one point there. You talked about this whole idea of NBA or bust. I think a lot of people, because it's being plastered everywhere that the NBA, of course, the NBA is a great league. It's top tier. Okay, whatever. But I'm saying is it's they paint it that's where you're supposed to go, right?
That's the ultimate.
Yeah, that's the only one.
Basketball player, that's the dream to get.
That's the only one. And then a lot of people don't realize that there's a lot of professional associations out in the world. I mean, you talk about Stephen Marbury went to China. Yeah. Not only him, but there was a lot of NBA players who flew out to these international leagues and joined in, and people were like, because they're done, their time in the NBA is done. But I think it's this whole idea of, and this goes back to so many things, from painting this whole picture that this USA is the best thing ever, we are the best, come to us and then we will call you the best. I think that's literally to me, I think it's giving this next generation of basketball players too much to sometimes they know they're great, but they're just I'm done because I can't make it to the NBA. So I think you're a great example of somebody who went as far, who's done an amazing thing, and for a young generation to look at and okay, now we know that, of course, NBA, but there's a lot more out there in the world that we can do in terms of living our dream, which is playing basketball. So that's awesome. Let's talk about that league. You go to Japan, now you're playing professional basketball. I mean, so how's that? Tell the people out there watching, this is the real deal. It's you're playing against the best of the best. So let's talk about that experience.
I mean, I kind of walked in thinking, I could play, I'm ready, with that mindset too, it's Japan, I was trying to go to the league, NBA, it's gonna be a piece of cake. And and the one thing I do tell, the people that are trying to get to the next level, I think it's only 7%. It's only 7% of the population that actually are able to make it to any college level. And then from there, I think it's only 0.7 or 0.6% that play professional overseas. Wow. And then it's 350 of the best players that play in the NBA. So when you look at that stat, it's just there's one thing being realistic, but you have to understand where are you really trying to go. So but me saying that stat, I'm okay, I made it, and then it was a rude awakening, I would say, for the first 2 years. First year, I might have played a total 20 minutes. I did sign mid-season, so the season starts in October. I'm sorry, starts in September. I signed in October, but like I had to get like paperwork and everything situated. So like I didn't really get into a game or be eligible to play until like 4 months later.
Wow.
Yeah. So like I'm training with the team, practicing with the team, but like even there, like it's behind the scenes. But like I wasn't doing well. Like like. I think I would say, coming from Guam, it's just a big transition because Guam, the biggest guy, is like 6'2". And then my point guard is 6'2" now. And my center is 7 foot. And I never really needed to run like a pick and roll. And even if I did, like my center is 5, or our St. Paul championship center was Marco Canovas. He's 5'11". So, like, I never really understood the concept of, like, pick and roll, like, reading the offense. I was a point guard at St. Paul, but, like, never understanding setting people up. Like, Kobe says, get to your spots. I didn't understand anything. So, like, I went with, like, no knowledge of, the next level to where, the first 2 years, it was tough to where, like, I was like, oof, I'm not that good. I'm not that guy that I thought I was,
Right.
And like I would never say like I could play like this, but going into Japan, that's kind of the mindset I had. Watching like Japan basketball films, you're like, oh, they don't look that good. And then first 2 years, it was rough.
Wow.
Yeah, and at the same time, like I didn't have anybody to like really talk to be like, so how do you navigate these like the course of like practice 2 days? We have weights every Tuesday, Thursday at 6 a.m. And then we have practice, so like my body's breaking down, I'm mentally breaking down too, and just kind of like fight my way through it. And I'm away from home, so it was tough, but kind of got through it. And
let's talk about that, getting through it. So first 2 years it was hard, like I said. It's going into a league. Like I said, it gets down to the fundamentals, this and that. Now you're playing against players that are taller and bigger, and so let's talk about what got you at one point in time, or what helped you get through after the 2 years.
Honestly, I don't even think there's anything that really helped me. Like I just had to literally like get through the fire of like. Getting yelled at, getting cussed out, like being benched, not seeing the court, not even seeing practice time because like I'm screwing up, but I don't know why, because I was never taught, like it's not something like, oh, I know I'm doing something wrong. It was just like, what am I doing wrong? And at the pro level, like it's not like high school where they're gonna take you aside and be like, oh, like this is what you're doing wrong. Like they're getting paid, right? So it's just like, oh, you don't got it, next person, and it just kind of flips like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's just like I'm 21, don't know what I'm doing, and I'm getting in trouble. I'm like, oh man, like But yeah, like I was saying, like I don't think that like I even really found a way to like kind of like maneuver through it. It was just like trial error, to where I was like, oh wait, I think I kind of got it.
Right.
Wait, no, I don't. And then like just kind of doing that over and over to where like now like the last 2 seasons that I had like is the first time I saw like the growth of like knowing what my job is as a point guard, because at St. Paul, I'll just come down, bring the ball up, do the combo moves, and like, try to get to the rim, But now I know like, oh, this shooter's hot. This is the mismatch. This is what the coach wants. I'm a point guard, so I have to be the extension of the coach to tell my 7-footer who's
so you're
not
kind of
at
like
the
a
block.
Quarterback, pretty much.
Yeah, yelling at my 7, looking up at him like, bro, can you get to the spot? You know what I mean?
Get to the
like
spot.
Yeah, and slowly learning that. So like the last 2 years was like really great. Like I was really happy for the growth.
Bro, we're gonna take a break. When we come back, we're gonna talk about the future for Morgan Aiken IV. So we'll be back watching One Micronesia Podcast. We'll be right back. Hop today, Morgan, welcome back. One Micronesia Podcast. We're still here with Morgan Aiken, the 4th professional basketball player out in Japan. So, bro, let's talk about it, man. What's next for Morgan Aiken, the 4th?
Well, I was like the team did definitely like offered me like a contract. I was a captain last season, and like throughout the season, like we were talking about like what was gonna come next for the season, like the next season, as far as like signing imports, players, and like coaching and stuff like that. But like I'm still kind of undecided, so like we'll leave that there.
Okay, awesome. So let's talk about this brand, Grind Apparel. It's something you've been working on. It's your brand, so let's talk more about what you want to do with it.
I started in 2017, and it was like it wasn't even Grind Apparel. Like it was just like Morgan Aiken's brand. Like I didn't really have like a system set up to where like what I wanted to do. Like I just knew I wanted to put stuff out. So then like it went from no name to kind of like, or it was just like Morgan Aiken, just like MA, to where I was like, I didn't want people to wear my clothes, you know, like I just wanted people to kind of like gravitate toward the brand because of what the brand stands for, not because, you know, like you're supporting me or and stuff like that. But it was initially a basketball brand. But then my thing is, not everybody plays basketball.
True.
So I wanted to like kind of mold it into a brand to where like, you know, anybody's striving to be the best in like whatever field that you're in. So then I figured like, you know, grind. You know, everybody's grinding for something, whether it's basketball, podcast, you know, anything, you know. And it fits everybody. It's like it's a one piece kind of fits all, you know, like where everybody could represent it and feel comfortable with, you know, wearing grind apparel. I didn't want someone like I personally wouldn't want to wear, you know, someone else's name on my shirt, you know. It would be like, as much as I support, like, you know, it'd be kind of weird, but like grind apparel, like you could represent it and kind of represent it in a way that you want to show, you know, the brand. So that's kind of what I'm trying to mold it into now.
Wow. When we come back, it's the last part, the last remarks, the goodbyes, where people can find you, all that, and the apparel. So we'll be back. Take a break. We'll be right back. One Micronesia podcast, BRB. Hot for today and Morgan Aiken. We're at the last part of the podcast. This is where we hear final remarks from Morgan, also, and find out where you can follow his journey and where you can grab some of his amazing grind apparel stuff to support him and the brand. Man, it's such an amazing name, grind apparel. Grind. I mean, we're all on that grind. So it's a perfect apparel to get and just to wear and just to represent and just to know that, you know, you're working on yourself every single day. So that's amazing. So Morgan, let's talk about it. The message to the younger generation of basketball players here in Guam and the region of Micronesia, like what would you tell them?
I would say it would be like the balance of like training. Like obviously you have to work hard, but like I got done telling my tender, like you have to have fun, especially when like parents want to push them, and I understand that. Like I pushed my brother way too much when he was younger, to where like I would feel like he kind of lost that love for the game, because it becomes like a job, you know, like at that age. And, you know, like you don't want any kid to like lose motivation or not have fun with the game. But at the same time, like if you're not working for it, you know, your classmates who are, you know, spending that time alone in the gym working on their weaknesses, whether it's left hand layup or defense or cardio and stuff like that, they're going to slowly pass you up to where now like junior year, senior year, when it's supposed to be your time, you're going to find yourself at the bench like, why am I not playing? Your parents are like, why are you not playing, you know? And you could blame coach all you want, but like, did you put the time in, or like, are you home watching movies, playing video games, which I do now, but I would like to say, you know, like I made it, especially like for like what my dream was. So at least like, you know, make time to work on your game for yourself. Your parents can't force you to do it. Like you have to, even if you don't like doing it, for like if you're trying to get to that next level, that's something you have to do. And like, if you know, like if your coach is not playing you, like it's not his fault. And one thing my mom was telling me is like, be good enough to where even if the coach doesn't like you, he looks at the scoreboard and he's like, gosh, sheesh, I have to put this kid in or we're going to lose the game, you know? And that's something like I feel like all kids just, I wouldn't say strive for, you know, like you have to be a good person at the core, but like at the same time work to be a better basketball player if you're trying to take it to the next level, which is whether it's college or pro, overseas, or, you know, like being on that national team to like represent Team Guam.
Wow, that's awesome. Very inspirational, bro. Thank you so much. Before I let you go, where can people go follow you, follow your journey, and how can people get this amazing grind apparel?
I'm on Instagram at the Human Plane. And if you go on my bio, like I have my personal training link and my brand link. And then my website's thehumanplane.com.
Wow. Well, Morgan, thank you so much. Like I said, it's been a long time coming, but it's done. We did it.
Finally got it done.
Thank you. Such an inspirational story to hear. I hope everybody watching right now, I mean, especially to the younger generation of basketball players here in Micronesia, to like learn something or two from Morgan, his experience, and take it and make it your own and be your own professional player. Morgan, again, thank you, and I hope to see amazing things down the road for you, bro.
Thank you.
All right. Last one, bro. Thank you.
Thank you.
That pretty much wraps up the One Micronesia podcast. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.